But no audio. I do like my microphone. It mutes when you lift it up. Okay, so I'm not surprised it crashed because we're updating drivers. The question is it going to work now? And is it going to crash again? And if it is, am I just wasting my time and your time? That. The view current log is not coming up. Files, view current log. Okay. Yes, let's move it over there. And we turn off the whiteboard. You can edit that. Rename this. New one with whiteboard. Camera. White. Okay. Let's move this out of the way. Let's open up our browser. So what we were doing is deploying Azure landing zones, and I'm probably going to have to do this again. Certainly what we're going to have to do is go through it and look at the various different options. Go through this process again, and probably we'll do deployment again, and we will have a look at this whole process. But for now, even though some of it didn't get recorded, some of it didn't get streamed because the stream failed. At the moment, it looks like this is fairly stable. We will see. So let's do this. So let's have a look at what we've actually got. So let's go to home, got some resource groups, and based upon the deployment that we set up through the accelerator, we deployed a number of services. Let's just have a look and see what's in each of these resource groups. So we've got Network Watcher. I'm going to check, see what that actually is for. AZOps, that is where we've got our connection to GitHub and where we have that managed identity that we set up and the key vault, which has the password or the secret that allows GitHub to connect. Then we've got our management resource group. So we have the various log analytic workspaces. There'll be much in here because we haven't got much going on at the moment, but all of those are being, all those workspaces and all of those rules are connected to a log analytics workspace, and that log analytics workspace is going to consume the logs, keep them for 30 days. That was what we asked when we did the setup. Let's just see what else is in here. Automation account. That. Then we've got private DNS. This is all our private links to our platform as a service services. Then we've got our VHub for our resource group, which includes our virtual network. And we deployed everything in North Central US just because deploying things in the US is slightly cheaper sometimes, depending what you deploy. And if we go into virtual network, then we'll see subnets. Because we didn't deploy a gateway, there's no subnets, there's no gateway subnet, there's no firewall subnet because we didn't include that. So this is just a VNet. So we're going to have to set up subnets before we actually deploy anything. What I want to do is, the other thing we should look at is, let's have a look at our management groups. So Simon 01, we've got various different management groups. This is based upon my nice image. This one. So our management groups under which we can have different subscriptions, but remembering that we only have the one subscription available to us. So we have various management groups. And then if we go and look at our policies, then we can see these are the policies that have been assigned. So let's start with, let's go to definitions. Okay. So we've got some custom policies. These are custom policies that have been created again by the scripts that allowed us to deploy or helped us deploy enterprise scale landing zones. And when we look at the documentation, we'll see that these custom scripts or custom policies and custom initiatives. And we should go and have a look at these at some point. If we then look at the assignments, then we'll see the assignments have been added to some of the initiatives and policies have been assigned. So we've got our management groups, we've got our subscriptions, and then we've got policies that, oh, I've got a bird. Hold on. Come on. Hello. There you go. Well done. That was easier than usual. So one of the options that we selected was that subnets should have network security groups, and therefore there's a policy that has been applied. Go to overview. We look at our policies. So I guess let's choose some of these ones that are non-compliant. Deploy diagnostic settings. So deploy diagnostic settings to Azure services. In here we've got look at the non-compliant ones. Okay, so we have one storage account. We have one storage account, and right, it's windy outside. We're still going. We haven't crashed yet. Oh, there we go. Let's have a look at view definition. And this is the storage account that is we already had. So I go to my storage account, which is this one. It's non-compliant. Okay, so we deployed Azure Defender for storage accounts. Monitoring. There we go. So ingress. That's our log analytics workspace. Back. Configure diagnostic settings for storage. Diagnostic settings. We're going to we want to send diagnostics to our log analytics. So let's just call this. Let's call it logs, I suppose. I wonder if there's a naming convention for this. Okay. Now we go back to here and it's still not compliant. Compliant reason might take a few minutes for it to update, I guess, because it doesn't evaluate it all the time. Compliance reason views show activity logs, credit exception. Some of this is new. Mm-hmm. Match the effect policy not found. No related resources match the effect details in the policy definition. All right, we're going to come back to that. We're going to have a look at the different policies that are deployed and why they're deployed. But what I want to do now, more interesting, I think maybe tomorrow we'll spend some time looking at policies and what is deployed in Enterprise Zone, what the custom policies are, and see why some of the policies are custom, some of them are built in, and what we can learn from that. But for now, what I really want to do is have a look at what happened in GitHub. So clear some of these windows. Let's go back to GitHub. There we go. So there's a repository, GitHub, which we created, or the script created for us. If we have a look, well, it's going to tell us about the system, or let's just open this. So AZ-Ops is PowerShell module that deploys resource templates and bicep files to all Azure scope levels and exports pools on resource hierarchy. So this is the GitHub repository for AZ-Ops, which is what we deployed under the AZ-Ops Accelerator. This is also an interesting repository which we can look at, because this talking nonsense. That is the AZ-Ops Accelerator. But there's also enterprise scale repository, and in here, I think it's might have to find it for you. The Enterprise Scale Landing Zones Accelerator. There's somewhere, and I'll find it for you. There's our bicep files. We're going to need those. Nice thing about all of these templates and all of these scripts being in GitHub is one can take the repository and make a copy of it, clone it, and then have your own version, if you like. And ultimately, you can contribute to it if you find mistakes or if you want to expand on it. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to have a look at our repository. So it tells us about AZ-Ops, but if we have a look at, so this is going to give us all the information about what was deployed. Let's just have a look in platform. Let's have a look at, there we go. So this is just, I've selected more or less at random, but this is a template for a policy that was deployed. Let's go back. What I want to look at is I want to look at pipelines, and I can go to pull. So there we go. GitHub Actions is what we want to look at, I think. Examples. Oh look, so now I'm this is my repository. Oh, Simon. There. Sorry. So this is all the code. This is all the code that was deployed into the repository that was created, and so the fun bit is under actions. So this was the deployment that. Yes, so this pulled the deployment from Azure and updated the files in this repository. So what I can do is if I create files and modify the deployment in code within GitHub, I can then push this. Let's see if I can pull. It's been a while since I've looked at this. Still streaming. Okay, so let's do this. We go here and if I want to create resource group. So let's create. Interesting about this. Interesting that it doesn't follow the naming conventions that I would follow. So let's see. Naming, tagging, defining abbreviations for resource types, define your. Okay, let's see. There's a couple of tools for for naming conventions, and I tend to track everything in an Excel spreadsheet when I'm designing something. But resource group, the abbreviations for resource group is G. Yeah, so if you look at so is this best practice? It's examples of what you could use. Tend to think of this as best practice. So resource group dash. Something else we should look at. But now, where was I? So we were, oh yes, we were going to create a resource group. So if I create a resource group in here and I'm going to call it and just for fun, in South Africa North. And I'm not going to use tags. Well, I should, but I'm not really. Right, there's our resource group. Do hope I get this right. It has been a while since, but yes, I want to pull. I'm going to run the workflow. Yeah, run workflow. Fingers crossed. And again, this is part of what I want to do with this streaming is I want to, the things that I want to learn, because I'm not 100% familiar with this. I have deployed this before and I've played around with it a little bit. And so I want to spend a bit more time with it, and at the same time that I am learning and becoming more familiar with it, then hopefully I can pass some of that on as we go along. And we're still streaming by the looks of it. Yeah. So my understanding of what's happening now is, well, let's have a look at the actual file that. So we've got enterprise scale deployment, enterprise scale. By default, it's going to look every 6 hours, which is, that's cron job for that. Window's a bit rattly, it's a bit windy outside. Our ID and our secret and information about the subscription. The okay, so this is the root folder within the folder within the AZ ops folder. By default, we generate a hierarchy within the AZ ops folder within the root of the repository. Branch name, fine. We haven't created another branch. Made a commit. State. Oh, let me close this window quickly. Birds flying in and rattling windows. And we've got an hour until load shedding. Oh, okay, so it's finished. So, all right, there we go. So, set up the job, check out, shed step. completed. But what did it do? Let's just see if this did what I think it should have done. Okay. Oh, there's 4 warnings. Oh, yes, I remember this before. So Node.js 12 actions are deprecated. So should be using, I looked at this. And decided not to worry about it. Because although the actions are deprecated, they're not disabled as yet. So that's not a problem. So we triggered this by me and it took 3 minutes. And so now, theory is I go to code, root, and what I should see is no, so what we could do is we could go and read the instructions, read the documentation. We update, run workflow, run work. This is also going to take. While we're doing that, okay. While we're doing, I don't know what happened there, but it's running now. Oh, what was it? Error, error, error. What's the error? So what does that mean? Interesting. This is why we're doing this, isn't it? So to get better understanding. Okay. So let's do this. Let's go to there. And then let's go to let's open that. Okay, let's put some music on. Free music for streamers, creators, and influencers is. I don't want it to go there. I want it to I try to be fancy now? Let's not do that. Do that another day. Because I need to set up the audio stream to go through to the video, the audio capture, and not sure I know how to do that. Okay. Oh, for the purpose of discovery, following resources considered within the scope of overall Azure platform. So management groups and subscriptions, policy definition, type exception for governance, resource type will be policy definitions, policy exceptions, definitions, assignments, and roles. Platform schemas represent configurations in Git. Now, I thought when we created that new resource group, I thought that was going to pull through, but purpose of discovery, the following resources are considered within the scope of overall Azure platform. I'm sure we're pulling in to, let's just have a look at this. So these are, if I have a look in, yes, okay, so these are the platforms. This is decommissioned learning zones, platform, and sandboxes. So if I go to, I'm looking at resource groups. If I go to, if I go to management groups, I've got decommissioned learning zone, platform, sandboxes. So if I create a new, I'll tell you what, let's just go back to, that is, somebody saying hello to me. Where's my nice picture? Doesn't really. We've got decommissioned. We've got sandbox. Let's just create something just to. So this is going to be. I want to create something in Simons. I want to create a child group. Do I want to do that? No. Let's do two things. Let's create test 01. No, we're going to go test 01 root. And then we're going to do child group. We're going to go test 02, which is 2021. Horrible naming conventions, but it's fine. Put that down. So management, group hierarchy, subscription organization, policies. Operate. In a production environment, changes are bound to happen. Ideally, changes are made in a structured way using the principles of infrastructure as a code. Infrastructure as code. The change will be made by adding or updating a resource definition in Azure DevOps or GitHub repository, relying on an automated test and release process to effectuate the change. IT department to fully transparent change history and a full rollback and roll forward capabilities. However, manual changes made, for example, using Azure Portal, which is what we're doing now, may be unavoidable. This leads to configuration drift where the environment as described in source control no longer reflects the actual state of Azure resources, which is what we've just done. So, large-scale envisions not only control mechanisms to push changes to the infrastructure as code source, to not push changes in the source, so that would be our code in GitHub, to the Azure environment, but to pull changes back. So that's, but I really thought this included resource groups. I really did. And it was a little while ago that I looked at this before. So okay, we have some new management groups. There is that, and there is that. And so now what I want to know is, let me just move this over there. That. And if I go to actions and steps, settings, updates, migration. What I want to look at is I want to look at the GitHub Actions link to see still streaming. I'm too scared to change the scene there. Full push. All right. Let's just do it. Let's go here. Let's go to full push, redeploy, update, validate. Let's go pull. And let's run that workflow. I'm hoping. There we go. That should take a few minutes. And if I've got this right, or if I've understood correctly, then that's going to pull the management groups in. But it's not very satisfactory if it's only doing management groups and policies. Let's have a look at the roadmap. Okay, roadmap. Pipeline. This is not. I want the roadmap. I want to see where we're going with this. Just bring me back here. All project tracking we found here. And AZ-Ops is a PowerShell module that deploys push resource templates and bicep files at all Azure scope levels and exports on resource hierarchy. So we can use this to push bicep files, which is something on my list that I want to spend some time on. So this is, okay, so this is where we are, I think. Okay, so the AZ-Ops Accelerator, which is what this is based upon, seems to work with policy definitions, policy assignments, role assignments, and, well, we'll find that in a second, and our management groups. So this is an accelerator that gives you an introduction to the AZ-Ops project. And for the purpose of this, I think it's just looking at management group, subscriptions, policies, and roles. Here we've got the same. That says nothing, which makes me wonder what actually happened, if anything. Add. Well, I suppose one of the do this is. There we go. Okay. So what did we get? So we got, okay, there we go. All right, so this pulled in our new management group, but it only pulled in test 2, which is the management group that we created underneath Simon 01. So, yes, okay. And that's because when we deployed this, when the clever Azure Landing Zone Accelerator deployed it, it deployed it deployed it as part of Simon 1. So it's only looking at what's inside Simon 1. Let's go. Security, scripts, pipelines. And pull, so that's what we just run. So this is going to run every 6 hours based upon GitHub Actions. It's going to run every 6 hours. And samples, scripts. I wonder where that is defined. Shared steps. Let's have a look at that. Connect. We'll have some exciting music. We've got half an hour before we run out of power for the day. I'm glad that we're still streaming. That is really something. All right, so we come back. Let's put this to one side. We come back here. What we want to look at, and I think what we might do tomorrow is do we want to have a look at bicep? Terraform. Too scared to turn on the whiteboard. We'll do it just now. So this is the accelerator. This is docs, Android deployment document. AZ Ops, get started. That's the accelerator we're looking at. Dependencies, AZ accounts, billings, resources. Okay, so what I don't like about this is that it is deploying, it can deploy using Bicep. Can deploy using Bicep. So Bicep then sends the information into or creates something. Well, Bicep converts to ARM anyway, doesn't it? So Bicep is essentially a language that's going to create not create ARM templates. Yes, essentially, but interface with ARM to deploy things, and then those scripts will come back. And which is okay, I think. Yes, because you can't pull back bicep, can you? Okay, so all right, what are we going to look at first? I think I want to have a look at. Well, I think we're going to look at bicep. I think we're going to look at Terraform. I think we're going to keep this environment in place. Think just like the streaming is working. So we're going to try switching our camera view a few times before we stop this stream. I think tomorrow we're going to look at Terraform or bicep and use this enterprise scale learning zone that we've started or we've deployed using Accelerator. And see how we can add to that, how we can manage that. Using infrastructure as code. But I think that's tomorrow's task, unless I'm awake late and want to chat again. So there we go. We've been live for an hour. We have no dropped frames. We have, let's turn on our whiteboard. Let's see what happens when we do that. Change our camera view. Let me bring this across. So, camera, whiteboard. I think we're going to have to redo some of this anyway, aren't we? We're looking at AZ Ops. This whole deployment didn't go very well. It went okay, but I would like to go through that again and show you how that. And you can't even see that bit, can you? It's outside the area. But yeah, we're going to look at this. I want to do that again. We're going to carry on exploring that. We're going to do this bicep and Terraform tomorrow. Oh, and because I've done this a couple of times, pointing at things we can't see, but because I've done the Azure landing zones a couple of times, I had to create as well. I started creating a script to delete everything and using PowerShell. So we might have a look at that. Well, we will have a look at that at some point. I am still streaming. think I'm still streaming. I hope I'm not talking to myself. I really do. According to this, I'm still live. Makes me happy. So it wasn't the USB to HDMI. That was fine. Or apparently it was fine. The yeah, it's still live. So it looks like it was just that Intel driver. It seems it's okay now. About that. Oh, and maybe, well, I'm sure the last time I looked at this, I'm sure I created items using Terraform, and then AZ Ops automatically brought those back into the GitHub repository. So I think that's what we're going to do later on or tomorrow, is we'll have a look at Terraform. But I hope this wasn't too boring. And it's just the first day. This will get better. Bear with us. And also, if there's anything that you want to learn, or you want me to learn, or want to, there's a few things. I mean, there's a few things I want to do, which we've talked about, and that's a lot to do with Azure and a lot to do with CI/CD infrastructure as code. And I want to look at landing zones and go through some of my observations and my learnings around that. But there's a few things I want to do around productivity using the Office 365 suite for productivity. So we're going to look at that. I'm going to spend some time with Caitlin looking at that when next she turns up. Maybe tomorrow we'll do that. And networking, I want to look at site-to-site VPNs. And look at the network gateways and how to set that up. I want to do that site-to-site VPN from a FortiGate. So, and we might try it with a MikroTik just for fun. And then we'll look at BGP. Lots to do. So bear with me. See you next time.